Hello, my beautiful forest lovers. Welcome to the 2025 online forest therapy certification program. My name's LuAnn, in case we haven't met before, and I am delighted that you're here. I'm delighted to share this practice of forest bathing, forest therapy with you, as well as certify you to lead others in this practice. This live class is really designed for me to get to know you a little bit better, also to introduce the concepts of the week and answer any questions. And also, as we go through the program, it will also be that time for you to share about your homework experiences or questions about experiences that you had or how to handle situations. So it's really a great way for us to be interactive together. There's also a lot of different course materials, and some of what I talk about today might end up being repeated in the video for this week or the lecture for this week. But my beautiful teacher, Denise Lynn, always says that repetition breeds, I think, success. In any case, we will call it, it will breed success for you in this practice. So, this is a magical year in some ways, and a really perfect year for people to be out in nature. And I say that because in Chinese astrology, this is the year of the wood snake. Now, the fact that it's wood, that means like forests and trees. So you can say, yes, it supports a forest therapy, but it's also the year of growth. That's what wood energy talks about, of new chapters, new beginnings. So it's perfect for you to be launching something new. But the snake here has very interesting and deep connotations to it. Number one, most people probably are not fond of snakes. In all the Chinese zodiac, if you've sat there at the Chinese restaurant and looked at them, you probably said, well, I don't like that snake, but I like everybody else. But that's really unfair because snakes have long held a very auspicious um, representation for Native people. They have that ability to regrow them, well, not regrow themselves, but to shed their skin as they get bigger. And different than other like animals that represent transformation, like maybe frogs or butterflies, the snake doesn't essentially change who it is. It just recognizes that it's grown bigger and bolder through life. And so the outer skin that it had, it takes a little bit of effort, but it wriggles itself out of it so it can grow into the next phase. So for each of you, this aspect of not abandoning who you are or saying the things I did in the past weren't of value, it's really saying, all of these experiences I've had in my life have led to this point of what I'm going to be doing next. And in some ways, some of you might be shedding a skin of what you used to do. Susan Chu, who isn't here today, is on the cusp of retiring, and she will be here at future classes, but she can't be here today because she's training her replacement and very much looks at this as she's forging her next chapter, her new identity, who she wants to be. For each of you who are here, I'm going to be excited to hear about what forest therapy means for you in your life. Is it a brand new chapter? Is it weaving it in? So it'll be something I want to hear because the more I understand what you want to do with this, the more I can be the best teacher, mentor, friend I can be in assisting you with your goal. Snake year is also a little bit of a tricksy year because snake also has the representation around secrets. And if you think of snakes, I live out kind of in the country, and most snakes really are not, any snake is really not one that is looking for a confrontation. They don't come looking for you. They will defend themselves if you stumble upon them or you frighten them. But for the most part, if they see you coming, they take off. They've got a very like secretive kind of life. And so the year of the snake in Chinese representation is a year about secrets. And it's also a year about where secrets can come to light. And I've noticed this year that there's a lot of things that probably have been secrets for a long time coming to light and really shake up the world. My favorite thing, and we won't get off on this topic for long, but my favorite thing is about the whole UFO thing. And are there really advanced civilizations here? Well, I think we might find out this year. What does that have to do with forest therapy? It truly has to do with when there's change or when there's information that comes out that makes people feel fearful. I feel there's no better thing for them than to get back in touch with nature. Nature heals us on so many levels, not just in terms of like a pharmacy of like eating the right herbs or the right foods and it will physically help us. But it also is an is a way to allow us to rebalance ourselves, to heal ourselves, I would say on a body, mind, and soul level. So in that way, when we lead forest therapy sessions, yes, we can lead them as health benefits, but health comes in many different ways. And what I've learned through the years is that many times when people are out in nature and they allow themselves to really be observant, to really use all of their senses, to kind of put their problems on the back burner for a while or not be literally carrying them with them. That allows their mind to relax. It can allow the emotions that need to be expressed to come out. And it's a very healing practice on all levels. Today, my purpose is to not just do this little bit of an introduction to what forest therapy is, but to also share about the different materials that you'll be working with, and you'll know where to find them, and so that you can begin this grand and glorious adventure. Next week, we will launch into the nitty-gritty of holding sessions, but today is just really for us to get organized and talk and dream and set intentions. So, a little bit about me. How did I become a forest therapy teacher? Well, if you watch the introduction video for this week, it goes into a longer explanation, so I won't go into all of that. But it's been something that for my whole life, I grew up out in the country. So being out in the woods was something that felt very healing and fun for me as a child. And then as I got older, it was the place where I would go to relax. I still claim my girly girl glitter persona, right? I like my high heels and my shiny bits. But being in nature allows me to connect with those beings that are there. And I truly believe everything is a being. As a feng shui practitioner, I believe our house is a being, my car is a being, and of course, the living things in nature, the squirrels, the chipmunks, the frogs, the fish, the trees, the shrubs, the stones are all beings too. And when we recognize that we are connected to all of those things, and that probably a lot of the disease and challenges that people have in our modern life in health terms is because we have taken ourselves out of nature. I read a statistic that in the late 1800s in the United States, about 90% of the people lived out, we'll call it in a farm, not in a city, but out on land. They grew their own food, and they very much had that connection to nature every single day. 10% of the people lived in cities. But now the statistic is that 90% of the people live in an urban situation, and only 10% of the people live in a way that they are maybe growing gardens and outside for a part of the day. It's an interesting statistic, especially when you start thinking about the kinds of illnesses and problems and chronic disorders that people are having now. if you pair that with how our houses are different, how we live in a different way, you can think about my mother grew up in a house with no electricity and no indoor plumbing. And not that I would want to live in a house with no indoor plumbing, but the existence was very different, right? No electricity. They very much understood the times of the day. They did things while there was light. They were just outside a lot more. They were also not wearing rubber-soled shoes. If you had shoes, they were leather-soled shoes. And so that connection with the earth, the connection with nature happened all the time, every day. Now, most people, even if they have the benefit of living in a place with a beautiful yard or setting, they might not be outside enjoying it or working in it for a large amount of the time during the day. Most of our time is spent in our comfortable indoors with our recirculated air, with our artificial lighting, and perhaps a lot of chemicals that are off-gassing from our cleaning products to the things that we buy and bring into our home. All of these things, I think, have led to a lot of the disease or chronic ailments that people have now. Forest therapy is not an ancient practice in the sense that it was called forest bathing 100 years ago. People just were outside. And the practice of Shinrin-yoku, which is the name in Japan, kind of originated in around the 1980s. And it was a practice created by physicians and scientists in Japan to help the population of executives in Japan who were super highly stressed and were dropping over from heart attacks at a young age. And they were like, how can we reverse this? How can we help these executives have a more balanced life? How can we help them find a way to deal with their stress? So they looked at the ancient Shinto religion, which honors the fact that there is life force, there is a being in all things, the trees, the rocks, the plants, the mountain, the stream. And they created a program for these executives that would have them move very slowly through the forest, having different places where they would stop and a different project or a different exercise thing for them to do in this place. You have to figure these executives, type A people, they're doers. They're not to go and say, just so go sit peacefully in the woods. Wasn't going to fly, right? That's not what their mind would be doing. So this program was very much about having them think about this ancient religion where all things were beings, and then take a very slow walk to these different places where they might be told, now gaze upon this tree and think about the life of this tree. Why would this tree have grown this way? Why would this branch have extended itself in this direction? And there were no right or wrong answers, but they were given this focus to think of the different things they would see at these different points. These scientists they measured all of the stress indicators of, blood pressure and um, heart rate variability on these um, executives before they went in the forest. And then afterwards, they measured them and they like, well, this made a difference. This 2 hour time in the forest with these different things to do made a difference. They would experiment with how long do they need to be out there? Does it need to be a weekend? And they found if they gave somebody a 2-day stay in the woods, that this reduction in stress indicators would almost last for 2 weeks. It doesn't mean they still didn't have stressful jobs. It meant the effect of that stress on their bodies was diminished. But they found that even with a 2 hour time in the woods, they could make a difference for somebody, especially if they could do it more often. I found that fascinating because part of my journey in doing what I do now was that I have taught um, interior alignment, feng shui, and space clearing, and soul coaching for many years. And parts of those programs are really about being connected to nature. So when I would teach people here at my home, part of it would be spending time out in nature. We might call it a quest, and a quest has a very specific goal, so a person's mind is focused on certain things. But it was really, they were forest bathing. They were being out in nature, connecting and watching and observing nature. So when I read about Shinrin Yuku and that practice, I thought, wait, this is very, very similar to what I've been working with people for years. So I started reading all the books that I could on it, which when I first heard of it, there weren't that many, but it made me recognize that this practice of being in nature is something that I know from experience is powerful for people. I also had the opportunity over the years to take some of my husband's clients. He is a naturopath and a doctor of Chinese medicine. And so I would lead forest bathing sessions for them on our property that were tailored to the fact that these aren't people who could walk very far or were in a wheelchair, but they were people who were really suffering from chronic problems. And taking them out into nature for even short periods of time made a difference in their chronic illness symptoms. So I am passionate about this, and I'm passionate about you all learning this because I would love to see you out in the world educating people and sharing with people about the practice of forest therapy. Now, there's a lot of people who think that forest therapy might be going for a hike or playing frisbee with your dog in the park. And those things have a value. But forest therapy itself is very different than a hike with a goal or a game that you're playing outside. It's about being quiet and really being connected to nature. So, as a part of this course, you're going to be learning those techniques of how to lead a group. And you're going to start by leading yourself. And so it is going to give you that opportunity to slow down and do that. I know some of you here are also kind of type A people, and that slowing down part is going to probably be the hard part for you. And that's okay, right? Because you're going to understand the challenge of your clients, and you might even create different forest therapy experiences that allow them to be a little more active because there's so many different ways we can do this and still get the benefits. The key thing that we're going to be doing is we're going to be taking people back into nature. And as a part of this program that I was creating, I didn't want it to be just seen as we are using nature to heal us, because I don't like that word using, but that we are connecting back to nature. We are the ones who took ourselves away from nature over the course of all of our inventions. And we think ourselves different. We think ourselves better than, we think ourselves above nature. We think that we are here to use those beings of nature as we see fit. And truly, what I want with our forest therapy practice is to recognize that we are a part of that nature community. We were a part for hundreds and thousands of years. And as we reconnect back in and look at these beings as our community, then it also becomes our mission as forest therapy practitioners to be, in a sense, the ambassador, to be the one who connects people who've forgotten that we're a part of that community back into it, and then teach them practices that little bit by little bit can make a difference for our beautiful Mother Earth. So practices that help people understand how reusing things can be of value, teaching people the difference between green and healthy can be of value. All of these things can be a part of what you do as a forest therapy practitioner, not to beat it over people's heads or make them feel guilty, but to have them really think about, oh my gosh, I love the trees. I love the river. What can I do to make a difference? So that's our goal. In the book, it talks about some of the things that you're going to be doing in the course. And what I wanted to do is just read this quote from probably the man who has taught the most forest therapy programs out there. And he wrote this original book. Let's see if I can hold it up here. It's called Your Guide to Forest Bathing, and it's one of the books I request that you get for this course. And his name is Amos Clifford. And this is a quote from his book. And it says, forest therapy is a practice. It's open-ended. There's no prescription for what a person should experience or what benefits they should receive. Instead, it's a practice of developing a deepening relationship of reciprocity in which the forest and the practitioner find a way to work together that supports the wholeness and the wellness of each. In forest therapy, there's a clearly defined sequence of guided events that provide a structure for the experience, while embracing the many opportunities for creativity and serendipity offered by the forest and the individual inspiration of each guide. The forest is the therapist. The guide opens the doors. So, in this course, you're going to be opening the doors for yourself and for others to work with that power of the forest, to be a part of that community again. Things that we're going to be doing in the class is looking at all the different aspects of nature and our senses and how those are healing modalities. So, for example, scientists around the world have looked at why does it work? And we'll be talking about that in a future class. But they look at things like, is it the sound frequencies? Is it the light? Is it the colors? Is it the actual air given off by the trees and the plants? And are there certain ones that are better than others? Is it the fact that we are tuned into our senses again and not to our phone? Is it the fact that we are connecting with the actual hertz levels of energy that run through the earth? All of those things have been measured, and all of those things have been like, yeah, it could be this, it could be that. But when we weave it together into a package, it becomes very, very powerful in what it can do for the body and the mind and the soul. You're going to be that ambassador to nature, and in that, really, really embracing the fact that all things have a consciousness. They live different lives than us. A tree doesn't live the same life as us, but they all have a consciousness. And there's more and more out there that shows that. One of the other books in our class, The Hidden Life of Trees, is a great example talking about how trees have communities, how trees have relationships with each other that we have just basically been oblivious to. But it's all happening right beneath our feet, and we just didn't even notice it. We are plugging back into being a part of that community as being a part of a forest therapy practice. We're also going to be grateful. We're going to be grateful to the forest and to nature, and we're going to help our clients understand and practice that gratitude as well. You're also going to be learning some things like Qigong, some basic movement exercises that when we do them outside, it's another way to stimulate our own energy, get people's heads out of what's going on in their life, and kind of open them up to being receptive to the energy of nature. You're also going to be learning how to do some guided journey work with your clients. And for those of you here who are already feng shui practitioners and soul coaching practitioners, well, you know how to do guided journeys. We're just going to tweak them for how you do them in a forest therapy session. And for those of you who have never done a guided journey or have never led a guided journey, no worries. We're going to take it step by step, and you will feel so confident in this practice because it will really open up nature for your clients and for you in ways you might not expect. And we're going to be talking about the practice of earthing. And that's the other book on the list where probably a lot of you have already heard of it and heard, oh, it's when you go barefoot on the earth. But there's a lot of times in a forest therapy practice where you might not even encourage your clients to go barefoot because if you're in the park, you don't know what might be there. And we always want to be safe. So we'll be learning about different ways we can really plug into that energy of the earth and still keep everyone really safe. I am going to be so excited to hear what you're here for, like what it is that you want to accomplish from this. And part of what I encourage people to do is create an intention altar. Now you might be thinking, I'm in a forest therapy class. I don't know why I have to do this thing called an intention altar. But if you think of it maybe as like a visual prayer or a visual representation of what it is that you want to achieve as a forest therapy practitioner, maybe it's just so that you can use all of the techniques to take yourself out and create a more balanced life and a more um, a more balanced body as well. That's perfect. But if it's thinking of like, this is something I want to offer people, this is something I want to weave into my existing business, then we want to think about what it represents to you. Perhaps it's, you know, because you want your clients to experience better health and well-being, because it will be a great way to add additional income. And there's nothing wrong with adding income. At the end of the class, we'll talk about business and why it's not wrong to charge money to do forest therapy sessions with people. In fact, you need to. But whatever your motivation is, that's what you want to represent. And it would be great if you did this intention altar or this visual representation somewhere close to where you're going to be studying your forest therapy materials. It will keep you motivated. It will keep you on track. The other piece is the real world piece of like, how are you going to fit this into your schedule, right? There's the practitioner workbook to read, which isn't that long, but there's also 3 other books that I'm encouraging you read during the course of this class, as well as different videos and audio lectures and homework. So thinking about how you want to create time in your life to focus on this. Now, before you hyperventilate and go, oh my God, I don't know how I'm going to get it all done. There's no end date to when you need to get it done, right? We're going to be having the classes on the dates that I sent, but it doesn't mean that you have to have your homework turned in for each class. You don't have to have it done at that point. I really give people a year. And actually, if somebody came in with their homework assignments all done more than a year after their class, that's fine, right? So take the time you need to immerse yourself in it and to feel good about it and feel confident. Part of what you're going to be doing as homework is actually leading other people on a forest bathing practice. And I require that because if you're being certified for it, then I want to know that you've stepped into the role, that you've worked with people and you've done that. So don't feel anxious about it has to all be done by August 8th. It doesn't. But the beauty of being in the live class is if you're somewhat keeping up with the assignments, then it allows us to share at each week of how did this go and what would you suggest for others or what would you suggest for yourself on the next go around. The next piece of this is that in addition to carving out time, I want you to think over this next week, and you might need to go investigate some places of where you might start doing your forest therapy practice. At the beginning, you're going to be taking yourself out, and one of the first things you'll do in a homework assignment is going to be listening to an audio recording of me leading you on a forest therapy practice. Um, so you'll be listening to me and doing what I'm explaining for you to do, but you're going to be out in the part of nature that you choose. Start, start thinking about where it might be. It might be your own backyard. It might be a local park. But think of a place that's accessible to you, because as you go through the weeks, if you have a favorite park that's an hour away, well, then that's going to add 2 hours onto your practice time. And I'm not saying it's not a great place, but think about how it will fit in your schedule. If it fits in your schedule, great. So start thinking, start looking, maybe even start investigating some of these places and what might feel good. Next week, we're going to talk about looking at those places more detailed in terms of safety, in terms of who else might be there or what else might be there. And so once you have your places identified, then you'll be able to go through that checklist and see how they fit. So that's our plan. I am thinking if there's anything else I probably need to tell you right now, but I'm guessing in the video for the week and the other lecture and the written material, it's going to be covered. And I'm excited to hear about why you are here and what is it that you would like to achieve. So I'm going to turn this on to gallery view so everybody will be here. And yay, and Diane's here. So I'm just going to go around and I would love if you would each introduce yourself, where you live, what you do, and why you were drawn to take this course. So Catherine, I'm going to start with you since you signed up the first on this. You signed up a while ago.
Yes, hello. So I'm Catherine. I live in Switzerland. What else? I'm a soul coaching practitioner and I do sound healing as well. I live on the countryside. I have a husband, two kids, and a cat. And I love going into the forest. It's something I do. Not often enough, but I mean, I try to do it almost every day. So, and I can really feel the difference the day I'm not going. And especially if due to my busy schedule, I miss like several days in a row, then I feel like actually like a lion in a cage. So, I mean, I can really, yeah, sense the difference of when I'm having this connection to nature versus when I'm just, you know, in the busyness of life. When I do go in the forest, I do it more for like, getting out and doing some exercise. That doesn't mean that I don't have my senses open. I notice what's around me and the changes that are happening, in the season and things like this. I mean, I was there this morning, and it's amazing to see now everything is becoming so green and lush, and you see the new, I don't even know how you say it in English, the new buds type, or leaves growing. It's really nice. And I think my ambition for this course, for one, is actually to learn to slow down. So basically, being able to go into the forest and taking the time to just be and be the how would I say it? Like be the sacred observer, if that makes any sense. And so I think that's the main objective, and then it's obviously as a secondary objective is also to take customers and be able to offer this for people to also to slow down, I guess, because they always say you attract the people like that needs you. So I guess they will need similar things than me. So that's it.
That's it. I am so glad you're here. I'm so excited for you to add this to your offerings for your clients. And
You, I'm excited too.
And combining your sound therapy with being outside is a wonderful thing to do. I'll just
Yes.
say that now. So we'll plant that seed too.
Yeah, it's actually something I've been thinking of about doing sound therapy, outside. I haven't come to a conclusion yet because there's so many things you need to carry, like because for me it doesn't make sense to go with three bowls and one chime, So
Mhm.
it's the setup is kind of complicated, but maybe I'll get my head around it at some point when I'm ready.
When you're ready, you will. And I'm going to jump down and I'm going to call on Shauna. I know you're probably driving. I don't know if you can talk right now or if you can not talk right now. I'm going to call on Shauna because um, I had the privilege of working with her to offer combination kind of forest bathing and sound healing at her equine therapy facility. So there was sound, there was horses, there were trees. I mean, it was it was wonderful. And Sean is here to learn this practice as well. And I don't know if you're able to unmute Shauna or not. And you're probably driving. So we'll come back to you later. Oh, you're
Can you
here.
hear me?
Okay. Yes.
Okay, good. Yes, I am driving, but I'm parking here in just a minute, so I apologize if I'm cutting in and out. But if you can hear me, I am here. Uh, and thank you for the introduction, LuAnn. I was just going to say that you can combine, get creative and, make all sorts of combinations in this work that we do. So
Oops, I don't know if you cut out again.
oh, can you hear me?
I can hear you now. Okay.
Okay. So yes, thank you, LuAnn. As LuAnn was saying, I have a farm and an equine assisted psychotherapy and learning practice here in Apollo, Pennsylvania. And I'm a licensed professional counselor in private practice, and equine assisted psychotherapy and learning is my passion. And I love combining what we offer here at the farm with the horses, with a variety of other holistic wellness modalities. We've had LuAnn come out to do sound healings at the farm with the horses. We've had didgeridoo. We've had yoga, intuitive painting, drum circles, you name it. We've either done it or we want to try it. So I myself am going through and have been for about a year and a half now, my own season of grief and loss and change and shedding layers of myself and figuring out who I am and who I want to be moving forward with these changes in my life. I'm now finding myself as a full-time caregiver, kind of taking a break from my business and deciding how I want to do things differently upon my return. And so when this came to my inbox, LuAnn, I just felt this calling because I knew that I not wanted to but needed to make some changes, and I just felt like, wow, we have this beautiful new farm we just moved to a year ago. We've got 50 acres. One field alone is 30 acres, and the wheels are already turning about, equine facilitated, forest therapy and forest bathing. And, I'm just like getting so excited and motivated to, start walking those trails and doing my homework and making them as safe as possible to take groups out and individual clients. And I'm so excited to learn, and I'm excited to collaborate and combine. And what's better than equine therapy and forest therapy? Equine assisted forest therapy.
Exactly. Exactly. I'm excited about that for you too. One of the things Shauna mentioned that she's full-time caregiver right now. One of the things that is important to me about our version of forest therapy is, of course, you can have, mile long, several mile long walks and incorporate that as a forest therapy practice. But I also want us to be aware that we can create forest bathing practices for clients who are not able to do that. And there are even one of the members in our group who is even having a challenge with being outdoors for long. And so as we go through the course, I'm going to talk about ways that if you are creating a specific course for people who are not able to go out for that long, people who have to be very aware of being out in sunlight, people who are not able to traverse a trail, right? How you can create these specialty programs for people of all abilities, right? I think that's so important because if we think about it, the people who are having physical challenges with illness, disease, even aging, they're probably the people who could benefit for some of this the most. So, Sean, I know you're going through, you know, your caregiving right now, and it's just going to be so great for you. But I think it's also going to make the wheels turn for you of how can you make this open to other people who aren't able to get around. So I'm going to call on Ruth next. Ruth.
Hi there. It's wonderful to see all these beautiful faces there. Um, yes, my name is Ruth. I presently live in Northwest Ohio. I love nature. I love being outside. Like LuAnn, I grew up in the country, in what most people would consider probably a very primitive lifestyle until I was probably fourth or fifth grade. But yeah, we did have electricity in the house, but we didn't have indoor plumbing. Um, we had a coal furnace, and I can remember taking baths in the tin tub in the middle of the kitchen floor. And because I was a baby, I got the clean water first. Going to the outhouse with a lantern with my brother, just those kinds of things, which you don't think anything of when it's your life. And I, like LuAnn, don't want to go back to that primitive a lifestyle. And I'm really not that old, but it's just where I grew up. But I do have that memory of just that connection to nature. My brother and I basically lived outside. That was just everything. And my parents, everything was outside. And when you had to be inside, nobody liked it. um, but I took LuAnn's her premier course in forest therapy. How many years ago has that been now? Gosh,
I'm gonna
five,
s- I'm gonna say at least
six,
5, right? It might be
six.
6. I think it was pre-pandemic. Yeah.
It was pre-pandemic.
So
Yeah.
you were here
Um,
for the first on-site forest therapy course. Yeah,
yeah, it was awesome. Was it 4 days, 5 days?
4 days.
4 days. And gosh, it's such a beautiful property, and the experience was just phenomenal. And I've just had the bug ever since. And so I was really excited that she was opening it up to graduates to come back and just be a part of it again. But um a big thing that you were talking about, LuAnn, that I've really been practicing or finding myself experiencing more and more is that connectivity to nature and how our society, I don't know if it's like this all over the world, certainly in America it is, but the idea that nature is this thing over here and we're here, and we're observing it or looking at it or whatever. But, the reality is we are it. It is us, we are it. That air that we're breathing out there is, that's what's keeping us alive. The water that we see out there is in our veins. I mean, we are the indigenous people, talk about everything in nature as their relatives, and it's true. It's so true. It's not some some disconnected thing out there that we're trying to get connected to. We're already connected. It's just becoming aware of that, remembering that again, and this just that appreciation and that awe. I'm sorry, I get so excited about this, but when you take a breath, oh my gosh, um, the air. To me, the air is a being. Water is a being. I take a drink of water, and it's like it's not just some separate thing. It's a part of who I am as well, and it's almost like cycling. We're just constantly cycling things back and forth with each other and keeping that connection going. So I'm really looking forward to just experiencing that more and looking for ways to really bring that to community. As LuAnn knows, I'm not in a position right now where I'm in community, but um, I'm really feeling the urge to uh, to get this out there in a way that's really intimate um, and fun, but also just deeply meaningful for people and an opportunity for them to also start to recognize their relationship with nature. I don't even want to say to nature, but with nature.
Mm-hmm.
It's our family. We're not going to survive without it. Um, so I'm really just looking forward to deepening that understanding and practice. So I love being here. Thank you.
Oh, you're welcome. I love your passion, and I can't wait for you to be out there expressing that passion to other people because you might think, oh, we can't change the world. We can't get all the people in the world to recognize nature is a part of us or that all of those things are beings. But we don't have to get everybody all at once. We can just get them one by one, right? One
Yeah,
by one, and it will spread. So I'm excited for that to happen, Ruth.
thank you.
Tracy.
Hello. Hello, Catherine. I love your haircut. Good to see you, LuAnn, and good to meet all the rest of you. I'm so excited. I am so excited. I can't even stand it. Let's see. I live in Washington State. May be in transition sometime within the next year, moving down to Oregon. And in 2 days, my youngest graduates from high school and will be off to college. And so, kind of, yes, some big changes on the horizon. And I'm self-employed as a soul coach and as an ADHD coach. And before that, for 30 years, I was a speech language pathologist working with kids. And when I saw this, I just sort of, well, first of all, it completely lit me up, and that's my litmus test, I guess, or whatever you would say, that it was like, yes, this is a go, this is a yes. And I just feel like it completely um it's like the trifecta. It's like to combine that with what I'm already doing is just feels like it's the last piece to kind of, maybe not the last, but a big a big piece to kind of fit all these things together. I walk as daily-ish as possible. A block away, I have a forest with wonderful paths, and I have a lot of Yenwood nature to my personality, and I've just always, even as a kid, I remember going out and sitting on a log over a river with, writing poetry and, that was just, so I've just always had that connection and miss that I don't have that as much in my life as we get, grown up and have all of our different hats and roles and jobs and responsibilities. And so definitely a point is to be hugely more intentional about making that happen even more for myself, but definitely bringing it into my work. And work with a lot of neurodivergent folks and neurotypical folks in general. Everyone, as we know, our nervous systems are just so completely out of whack. And so anything to really help, you know, regulate our systems, and especially for neurodivergent folks, just the mind that goes and goes and goes and goes, and being out in nature is definitely part of the medicine kit for managing symptoms. But again, that's just, we're seeing that for the whole of humanity. But a while ago, I just happened upon a class in a local Parks and Recs thing that was called tree singing. And I was like, what's this? And I went and was just like, whoa, this is amazing. So it was a woman who had a little device that you can, attach to a tree, and it measures the electrical signals of
And it
the
makes
tree and
music.
then translates it to musical notes. And so we were just taking this hour and a half long, slow, you know, walk through the old growth forest, listening to the trees sing and seeing how the electrical signals would change when you touch or hug the tree, and which ones weren't feeling well. And you could tell, and it just was so moving. And I'm getting goosebumps already. There was a woman that was on the walk that I didn't know, and she had a very significant neurological condition, and for the past 14 years has really struggled with. She kind of described it as like it's not Tourette's, but like Tourette's on steroids, and so a lot of body tics, physical tics, and that kind of thing. And halfway through, I glanced over and her whole body was just calm and still. And I was like, whoa. Of course, I didn't know her story at that point. But we talked afterwards in the parking lot, probably for an hour or so, and I heard her whole story, and she was gobsmacked. I mean, she's tried everything under the sun, Western medicine, Eastern, everything, medicinal, everything, microdosing, this, that, and everything. And there was nothing that she had ever encountered like this. And so that to me was like, yes, like this is it. And even before I knew that I was going to take this course or knew um, about it, I had already signed up for through another group, an ethnobotany walk, just to learn more about the local, plants and around me. And so it's just, again, the excitement piece of just knowing this is so what I want to be doing right now. It's a great, perfect time for it. I want to incorporate it into everything I do personally and professionally. And anyway, no, I'm very excited.
I am so glad you're here, and you are going to be able to design forest bathing sessions for a neurodivergent population that will really reach them and will really make a difference. I
Yeah.
love that. Thank you, Tracy. Susan. We've got two Susans in the group. One of them isn't here, but this is our Susan Torres.
Let's see. I moved back to the Appalachian Mountains about maybe 3, 4 months ago because the mountains literally called to me. I grew up in these Appalachian Mountains. I grew up very much like Ruth did, with my Native American grandmother, who taught us that we were to revere everything. If I sat on a rock, I was to thank the rock. If I, Her and I would go out and get herbs, though I didn't know they were called herbs at the time. We just went out and plucked what I call plucked weeds, and she would make teas out of them. We never went to doctors. She took care of everything. So I kind of grew up that way and became a nurse because I wanted to understand how these herbs worked, what the chemical breakdowns were. And back when I was doing it, of course, herbs were not considered anything nursing. But during the day, I would be a director of nursing, and at night, I would go work for a pharmacy, and they got all the chemical breakdowns, and I could study those chemical breakdowns. And just fast forward, I felt that this class, I've been a healthy living coach for a long time. Um, I'm also certified by Denise in a couple of modalities. I've always felt energy very intensely. So it just seemed like this fits. It fits with everything that I do. I'm getting ready to retire from my job um, within the next couple weeks. I will be leaving to just do this full time or however way I can help with it. I do a lot of, I know a lot of people. I loved what Tracy had to say because a lot of my clients are not, they're not necessarily mobile, real mobile, can't go walking in the woods with me, but I can help bring some of this to them because nature heals.
Mhm.
So that's kind of why I'm here. And I am so blessed to be here and I'm so grateful to be here. So thank you, LuAnn.
You're welcome, welcome, welcome. And Diane. Oh, wait, why can't I hear you? It doesn't say muted. Mm-mm. Let me mute you again, and then I'll ask you to unmute, and we'll see if that does anything. Nope. Oh, darn. Mm-mm. Okay, we can use the chat. So I can tell them a little bit about you, and then I'll ask you questions that you could type in the chat. So she says, "Hi, I'm Diane." So Diane lives in Colorado, and she has a deep background also as a trauma therapist, as well as being a soul coaching practitioner and interior alignment practitioner. And she also is somebody who has loved the connection to nature her whole life. And so, Diane, why don't you fast type and tell us a little bit about how, other than loving nature, why you might be in here? She says, I've loved nature my whole life. As a teen, more aware of the oneness connection. I'm reading it out loud, Diane, so that Shauna, who's on the phone, can see it. While Diane's typing, I happened to, oh, here she goes. I started this course last year, but was not able to keep up with it. So I'm here now. I want to transition out of traditional psychotherapy. And I'm honored that you're here, Diane, because she's also on vacation this week. So she's joining us from her hotel room, and doesn't have her normal technology here with us. But I'm excited to see that you're back here and in this class because I do think it's the perfect time where it's going to put all those pieces together that you've been working on. transition to be a soul coach, and integrate clutter coaching, space clearing, and now forest therapy, along with the other modalities that I have learned. So I think it's going to be perfect. And clutter clearing. Yes. Clutter clearing coaching. Yes. Well, delighted to have you here, Diane, and delighted to have everybody here. And we will be having more people join us in the coming weeks who just weren't able to make it today for different different reasons. And of course, if there's a week you can't make it, we will miss you. Um, but it's awesome when the team can all be together because we're really supporting each other. I wanted to just quickly go over the materials for the course so that you know where to go for things and how to look for things. And so I'm going to turn on my screen sharing. And I'm assuming everybody got the email that had the link to our website page. And it's not a link. If you just go to my website, you're not going to be able to find it in the regular menu up at the top. It's just a hidden page, but you're going to want to just go ahead and bookmark that page so you can easily come back to it. And the page I sent you is the welcome page. That's just kind of an overview for those who, whenever you signed up, that you could know kind of what we're going to be doing. And there's a page that it links you to called the lessons page, and we'll get there in a minute. This is kind of the overview of the program. Then it talks about the course format. And so there is a practitioner manual that will have information to read. There is a video to watch. There are different smaller audio segments to listen to. And they're divided up and short because I know in my life, sometimes I go, I don't have a whole hour to sit and watch something, but if I can do it in 10 minutes, then I can put it into the day. So that's why there's a bunch of little audios on little different topics. Along with that, there's also going to be homework assignments. And like I said, don't panic about the homework assignments. You have lots of time to get them done, but it's allow you to do more than learn information. It's about taking the information and starting to develop the experience for yourself. Part of what you'll need and is an audio player. And of course, if you're watching this on your computer, you can obviously play audios on there, but there's going to be certain audio lectures within the course that's going to ask you to listen to it while you're out in the forest or out in your backyard or wherever you're going to be doing your practice. So on those ones, if you can download it onto your phone and you can listen to them on your phone, that's perfect. If you don't have that on your phone, maybe you have a tablet that you could download it onto and take out. And if you have a challenge with how that could work, let me know and we'll brainstorm about it. Then also there's a Facebook group for my students and my graduates, and we share a lot of way cool information there. So it's not only to support you as you're going through the course, but it's a place to hang out. It's your people. It's your people who love trees and other things in nature. And so we share a lot of information there about latest scientific studies about trees to just maybe different ways you might market yourself or ideas around different forest therapy experiences you might hold. There's also some additional books that I ask you to get. And of course, you don't have to own them. You could borrow them from the library, but I'm asking you to read them during the time of this course. One of them is The Hidden Life of Trees, which gives you more insight into trees and their social life, if we want to call it that, and how they connect to each other. The book on earthing, and then also the Guide to Forest Bathing by Clifford Amos. So this was the welcome page. But then we are now on the week of welcome and preparation. So here is our little menu within our forest therapy program. And on each of these lesson pages, you're going to find what you need for this week. So there's a 48-minute long welcome that has a bit of a ceremony at the beginning to kind of welcome you in and gives you a little bit more background about me and my journey into this. But you could skip past that part if you like and get into the other pieces about the course and why we're doing this and creating your intention altar. Then if we scroll down a little bit more, there is a checklist of your graduation requirements. I didn't used to have this, but then the last class that I held, it was requested that we have a checklist because they just wanted to be able to have this list and check it off. So if you click on this, it will open up a, I don't know if you guys can see it, a Word document that you could download, and then you could put little check boxes next to everything that you accomplish in the program. Then this forest therapy practitioner guide. Each week it will have just the section for that week, but if you go back to the overview page, the one you were originally sent, it has a, oh, no, it doesn't. Wonder where it went. I could put it back on there. Also, people had requested, I don't want to just download it and print it each week. I want to take it to Staples, so I just want one document. So I will put that back on the overview page. But here's the thing. You don't have to print anything. If we want to save trees, if we want to honor trees, maybe you just want to download it and read it on your computer. So in any case, here's the practitioner manual. And then over here is another short audio lecture that you could listen to. It talks again about having the audio player, and it repeats again about the books. So that's the only thing you need to do for this week is just maybe watch this video, listen to this lecture, read this first section in the practitioner manual, and think about how you want to gather those other resource materials. Any questions? Well, we don't have to go till 1:30. It's here if we needed it, but it's also, I could set you free to go for a walk outside. So I am so, so, so excited that you're all here. And part of it is because I love sharing about this material and seeing you all here. And part of it is because as I imagine the future, when you graduate from this program, and you go out and start leading people on forest experiences and knowing the difference that you will make in their lives, but also the difference you will make to planet Earth, the difference you will make as you inspire people to be aware that we are all one, not just as people, but always the trees, the squirrels, the fish, and that we can enter back into that being in right relationship with all of those beings around us. Because the more people we inspire, the more the world will change into a truly better place. And that is my sincere wish and my dream. So thank you all. I will see you here next week. I hope. Please join the Facebook community and introduce yourself if you haven't already. And you can also use our email group to write in and share about things that you discover or anything you want to share with your classmates. All right. Love you all. Bye-bye.